Welcome back to the Tempo Storm deck introduction series for the Witchwood meta, featuring a deck that rose to prominence in recent weeks, Zoo Warlock. A once proud pillar of the Hearthstone ecosystem, Standard has been without a viable Zoo deck for quite some time. It was only when Takas and Ginky played similar versions of the deck at the beginning of July that it started finding its way back into the metagame. As of the most recent meta snapshot, Zoo sits at Tier 2, a serviceable place for a deck that has only recently been developed. The deck has yet to find tournament success, but that seems to be from a lack of lengthy exposure to the current Standard environment. To understand the ins and outs of Zoo and to see why this version of the deck is so popular, let's take a closer look at what makes this deck such a strong choice for ladder. For those of you who weren't around when Zoo was prominent in the past, you may be asking, what the heck is Zoo in Hearthstone? Well, Zoo just refers to a broad sub-archetype of the Warlock class, designed around playing small, efficient minions on curve to develop a board presence while leveraging the life tap hero power to stay ahead of your opponent's resources. The Zoo archetype has always taken to playing the best early minions available, and Flame Imp and Voidwalker have always fit the bill. We've gotten some nice tools for the deck in recent sets as well, with cards like Cold Librarian to provide a constant stream of cards that doesn't hinder board development, and Prince Kaliseth to provide constant value over the course of the game, as well as buffing your Saronite chain gangs. The really interesting part about this deck is that it goes all in on synergy with a healing package that makes for some really strong early game starts. This version of Zoo really takes advantage of Happy Ghoul's discounted effect by playing cards like Voodoo Doctor, Fungal Enchanter, and Life Drinker. These minions allow for explosive starts by damaging yourself with a Flame Imp, Librarian, or Life Tap, and subsequently healing yourself to develop a body plus a free 3/3 minion. To further push the impact of the healing cards, the deck also runs 2 copies of Light Warden, which can win a game on its own if unchecked. 2 copies of Tark Reaper are included versus aggressive strategies, as well as a solid body that can be flipped with Void Ripper or buffed with Fungalmancer. Despicable Dreadlord is fantastic against the odd paladins you're sure to see on the ladder. Doomguards provide the deck with great trading potential and late-game burst damage. In a format where people are powering out Master Oakheart, clearing boards with Dragon Fury, and leveling up Silverhand recruits, why Zoo? Why are we choosing to play a deck with Light Warden and Voodoo Doctor in 2018? Let's dig a little deeper to find out. Zoo is a classic example of a deck that is far greater than the sum of its parts. While none of the cards look individually powerful on their own, they all work together in a cohesive strategy to generate enough value and pressure to stay ahead of your opponents for long enough to close out games quickly. One of the classic mistakes people make with Zoo is by playing it as a face deck, when in reality it wants to make efficient trades into your opponent's board when given the opportunity and push face damage afterwards. This is especially important when we're playing cards like Voodoo Doctor and Fungal Enchanter, as you can always value trade into a minion and heal your own minion back up from the exchange. The real power of this deck comes from its explosive starts, where damaging yourself in some way followed up by a heal makes way for a zero-cost Happy Ghoul. While a 3/3 may be unassuming on paper, when it can be played for free when your hero is healed, Happy Ghoul can swing whole games in your favor. Okay, imagine this turn 1 play. Kobold Librarian, Coin, Voodoo Doctor, Happy Ghoul. You've got 3 bodies on the board. Of course, this is a best case scenario and the deck has to function when it doesn't draw the best possible openers, which is why we run Light Warden as well. Including this scaling 1-drop allows our healing cards to work double duty, even when we don't have a Happy Ghoul to play. Most of the time, Light Warden will be a lightning rod for your other minions when they don't have removal. Otherwise, it can win a game almost by itself by growing out of control very quickly. When choosing what cards to keep in your mulligan, an ideal hand would contain a Flame Imp or Kobold Librarian, a healing activator, ideally Voodoo Doctor or Fungal Enhancer, and a Happy Ghoul. You will always want to keep your 1-drop minions and Prince Kaliseth when offered, pretty much regardless of the scenario. Light Warden can get a bit tricky as it's not very good without healing effects to buff it and can be a liability early on versus other aggressive decks since its weak body doesn't contest the board very well. I would mulligan this versus aggro if you have no other healing effect, but keep it versus slower strategies as it's such a threatening card when left unchecked. Life Drinker is a card that really shines in this deck. In most aggro decks, it's only meant to deal 3 damage to your opponent, but here, the drain effect works overtime by healing your hero to allow for extra card draw from Life Tap, triggering Happy Ghoul, presenting a reasonable 3/3 body, as well as providing potential late-game burst damage. This is definitely one of the all-stars of this new variant of Zoo. Zoo has long been heralded as one of the best decks to learn in order to improve at Hearthstone. The reason for this is that it's an aggressive strategy which can be forgiving of mistakes. It teaches the value of resource management as well as card and tempo advantage, and most importantly, it helps you learn the best times to trade and to push damage. The single most important skill when piloting a Zoo deck is to be able to recognize when you've traded enough and when you need to start ratcheting up the pressure by smacking your opponent's dome. For newer players picking up the deck, this is a skill that will come over time and can be difficult to grasp at first. If you find yourself losing with a deck, try asking yourself or someone else, am I trading too much or not enough? Should I be focusing more on face damage or more on board control? This is the #1 mistake people make when playing Zoo, so keep that in mind when piloting this deck. One of the trickier cards in the deck to play with is Void Ripper. Not only can it flip minions like Tar Creeper for added burst, but it can make for some tricky plays with Light Warden by swapping her buffed attack for her health, making her a beefier minion. It can also be used in tandem with Doomguard and Saronite Chain Gang for better trades or added damage, like with Tar Creeper. The most important reason Void Ripper is in this deck is to fight against the Druid Scourge of Spreading Plague. A well-timed play can be game-winning against you, so having a natural answer in Void Ripper can frequently be just what you need to keep your opponent on the back foot and take the game home. Don't forget that Fungal Enchanter heals all friendly characters. This means minions as well as your face. This makes value trading even better with one of these little guys in your hand, as you can value trade and heal your minions back to full health. This can also serve as a serious damage source with a Light Warden on board. Healing a board full of damaged minions while a Warden is in play is very reminiscent of a Frothing Berserker Whirlwind turn. Traditionally, Zoo is a deck that can take advantage of tech cards because of the extra cards you draw with Life Tap. However, this build of Zoo is a bit harder to tech in because the heal package takes up so many slots in the deck beyond the core Zoo build. The tech slots are Tar Creeper, Void Ripper, and Doomguard. Tar Creeper is a polarized card because it's so good at fighting against aggressive strategies but is pretty poor versus control. If you find yourself playing versus slower decks and need more power, consider swapping this out for any number of cards. You can turn the Creeper into another 3-drop like Death Speaker or Gluttonous Ooze to keep the curve low, or you can swap it out for situational strong cards like Spellbreaker. The number of Void Rippers in your deck should depend on the amount of Druids you're seeing at the time. If you're seeing a lot of Spreading Plagues, you may want to add another Ripper over a Tar Creeper. If you're not seeing very many, you'll probably want to turn this into a Spellbreaker. As far as Doomguards go, there's been a long-standing debate in Zoo as to whether or not you should run Leroy Jenkins or Doomguard as your late-game finisher. Doomguards apply more consistent pressure and let you trade on board better when needed, while Leroy Jenkins allows for more direct burst damage. Simply put, Doomguards are better in a minion and trading-based meta, whereas Leroy can be better in a slower meta. If you find yourself on the Leroy side of the debate, cut the Doomguards for a Leroy Jenkins and a Spellbreaker. These cards can always add an edge if you tech properly against what you're expected to face, but they can be a hindrance if you guess wrong, so be careful how you tech. If you're not sure if you should tech in anything at all, just go with our original meta snapshot list and take it from there. Players have already proven that you can take the deck to high ranks. In short, what's old is new again, and Zoo is definitely old. With strong showings early on in July and no sign of slowing down, you can expect to see this deck as a player on ladder and in tournaments moving forward. So you'll need to be prepared to play with and against this deck if you're looking to put up some strong results. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of our Witchwood deck introduction series. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and be sure to drop a comment below and let us know what deck you'd like to see us discuss next time. Don't miss out on all the other great Tempo Storm content on this channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.